All right, what's the best video encoder? Is it Nvidia, AMD, X264? Which one is it? You go to Reddit, you go to YouTube, you're finding all kinds of different answers. Let's settle this. Let's take a look at what the best encoders are right now at the start of 2023, do a side-by-side comparison, and you can see if there's really that much of a difference, if it actually matters. Try to pay attention not just to the freeze frames, but the video in between to see if there's much of a difference. And then when we get to the end, we're going to do kind of a blind taste test. You see if you can pick apart which one's which. Also, the software that I'm using to capture it is OBS 29, and the settings are the same on all systems as we're capturing. When it comes to encoders, I set it to the best quality available for the hardware encoders. So that's P7 for the Nvidia encoder and quality for the AMD encoder. For X264, the software encoder, I actually set it to the medium preset. By default, it's set to the very fast preset. The slower the preset, the higher the quality at the expense of performance and resources with your processor. After the medium preset, if you start to go slower, you get diminishing returns. So medium's kind of that sweet spot where if you have a powerful enough processor, you can get some pretty good quality out of it. You ready? Let's jump into it. Here we go with our first freeze frame. There's a couple things to look at. First off, let's look at the newspaper on the ground. You can see that the sharpest one of them all is the Nvidia card, doing an amazing job of showing the individual lines and pictures, not a blur. After that, looks like the X264 medium. And then the two Radeon cards, the AMD cards, are quite similar. It's pretty blurry. You can tell it's a newspaper, but you can't see the individual lines. Now take a look at the words Night City at the top of the screen. You can see the AMD cards are still a little bit blurry, but the Nvidia card and X264 kind of flipped. It looks a little bit sharper with X264. Let's move on to the next freeze frame. So here it looks a little bit different, but still kind of the same. We still have the Nvidia card giving the clearest text. You see the caption right there. But after that, X264 and the two AMD cards are about the same. In fact, X264 in this specific frame looks a little bit worse than the AMD cards, in my opinion. And here we go with more of the same. Nvidia is doing the best with their encoder. After that is 264, followed by the AMD encoder, both the 6000 series and 7000 series. Where you can really see it are the lines of text right below the word crime. You can see individual lines clearly on Nvidia, then X264, and then it's kind of a blur with the AMD cards. Overall, all of them work fairly well, but if you're going to be streaming at Twitch's max 6000 kilobits per second, Nvidia is probably going to do the best for you. Here we go, 10,000 kilobits per second. This is going to be more like YouTube streaming or TikTok streaming that allow the higher bit rates. And you can see that it changes quite a bit. It makes a huge difference on the 7900 XTX. You can see that the Nvidia card, X264, and the 7900 XTX are almost identical. They look very similar. In fact, the 7900 XTX looks like it does better than X264 right now, looking at the newspaper. The RX 6600 falling behind a little bit, both on the newspaper and on the Night City sign at the top. But here, as soon as you bump up the bit rate, you can see it makes a huge difference for the AMD 7900 XTX. Let's get on to our next freeze frame. All right, there was just a ton of motion right now, so that really loaded the encoder. A few things we need to look at. Take a look at the tiles on the floor. See that person with the white pants right there. Look at the wrinkles on the pants, and then look at that palm tree in the background. Those are where the details are coming in, and you can see that still Nvidia is doing the best But now in second place is the 7900 XTX, well outperforming X264 at this point. Like, take a look at the pants. That's huge. Take a look at the tree. You can really see the fine details on the 7900 XTX. The 6600 and both X264 struggling with the fine details here.
Are you happy with the autonomous shooting function? Please jump to confirm.
All right, this is interesting. This is a little bit harder to tell. Like, if you look at the newspaper, Nvidia has it. It's nice and clear on the newspaper. But if you look at the caption, it looks like the 7900 XTX is a bit sharper. There is very little difference between the 3080 and the 7900 XTX at this point. The 6600 and the X264 are also doing okay here. So overall, it makes a huge difference to go up to 10,000 kilobits per second. And it really closes the gap between Nvidia and AMD at this point. Let's jump on to indistinguishable quality for recording and see how we turn out there. And here we go with the indistinguishable quality recording setting from within OBS. What this does is, instead of setting a specific bitrate, it sets a quality setting and lets the encoder choose what bitrate it needs to achieve that. Right here, it looks like the 7900 XTX is actually taking the win. Take a look at the newspaper. Also take a look at the painted line on the road. You can see the grit and the gravel through it a lot clearer than everything else. And especially the Night City sign up top. Look at the grunge. You can really see it streaking down. After that, the 3080 looks like it takes it, followed by the 6600 and then X264. So it looks like the hardware encoders are really doing a good job of efficiently recording this. Here we go. Again, more of the same. The hardware encoders are doing better than the software encoder, but the 7900 XTX is doing better than everything else. The text is so much clearer. The little dots on the window are clear. It's really shining here with this setting. I know, we just had a freeze frame, but this is a great example right here. Lots of detail. Look at the fern right there. You can also see in the very back, behind the fern, to the right of the fern, see the person in the back with the umbrella? Look directly above them. And on the 7900 XTX and the 3080, you can see a vertical line, a crack in the concrete coming up above them. You can kind of see a horizontal crack with the 6600, but you can't see anything with the X264. Again, 7900 XTX taking the win on this, 3080 coming in after that, followed by the 6600, and then software bringing up the rear. Recording is really where you want to use hardware, and this proves it. Let's move on to the final test. And here we go with the final freeze frame. And this kind of shows that, you know what, it's not always a clear winner. Look at the 7900 XTX. Look at some of the finer details. For example, the enemy marker, the bullets above the police officer's head. And look at the other bullets as well. There's not a huge difference anymore. And there was a lot of action just before this. There's a whole bunch of pixels changing on the screen. So it really boils down to what's going to give you the best experience overall while the video feed is going. You can't base it just on freeze frames. Freeze frames give you a decent idea here and there, but they don't give you the whole picture. All right, now it's time for the blind taste test. I'm going to put all 4 different feeds onto the screen at the same time, shuffle them up, and not show you which is which, and see if you can tell them apart without the freeze frames. Remember, most of your viewers, they're only hitting pause if they're going to go get chips. They're going to be watching the video. So That's what's going to be most important. How it looks all as a fluid motion, not just frame by frame. You ready? Let's see how you do.
Are you happy with the autonomous shooting function? Please jump to confirm.
All right, how did you do? Were you able to instantly tell which one's worse quality? And was it always worse quality than the other ones? Which one was the best quality? And did that change with 6,000, 10,000, and the indistinguishable? Sound off in the comments. Let me know after watching this if you think it really makes that much of a difference with the encoder, something that your viewers are going to notice. If you're streaming on TikTok, how much of a difference is that going to make versus streaming on YouTube or Twitch? If this video helped, if it was informative, if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And always remember, the key to happiness is